All right, y'all. What's up, man? Good morning. Good morning. It's Wednesday, March the 19th, 2025. Let me turn my sound down on that. Put that on silent so we don't get interrupted. Good morning. We know we got the dope coffee already. Stigmatism in My Soul. The podcast was sold. Gonna be publishing myself. We don't wish to defame, slander, libel, hurt anybody as it relates to what we're going to talk about in this video. Today we are going to discuss the Diddy case. All right, all of this information is public information. You can pull it down online if you have Pacer or if you can get it from somewhere else. If you want to join, y'all know I do the calisthenics, I do the workout thing. I have an 8-week program that's $2,500. If you can't afford that, you can join this channel, the YouTube channel membership, and for $30, you can get 90 days worth of workouts for $10 a month. And if you follow those 90 days, it'll help you get in shape and get right for the summer. The channel membership link is below. All federal prison style calisthenics, all routines I learned when I was in federal prison. So let's get right into the Diddy case. This case is based out of the Southern District of New York. This is a federal case. And let me qualify, man, and let me say that me personally, just speaking for me, I've been a fan of Puffy's music going back to my college years. And like I say, with what I'm going to discuss, I don't wish to defame the man. I don't know the man. All I know is what impression the media has given to me about who he is and what I've heard from other individuals. Now, you're talking about the groups Jodeci. You're talking about Mary J. Blige. You're talking about Missy Elliott, right? And if the first time I heard Missy Elliott was with Puffy. You're talking about Biggie. You know, the man's musical genius, as far as I'm concerned, cannot be denied. His business genius cannot be denied. Now, you know, from what I understand, he may be an unscrupulous businessman. He may have jerked a lot of people, stabbed people in the back. His sexual preference, and if he got down with kids, I'm definitely not with none of that. His sexual preference and all of that stuff, I don't know nothing about other than what the media says. So I just wanted to just qualify that before we take off. Puffy is in a lot of trouble. He has 3 counts. This is a sealed indictment. The case number is 24 CRIM 542. He's charged with racketeering conspiracy, and we're going to get into that. That's a heavy charge. And then count 2 is sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Coercion means like to be coerced, to be kind of like forced. And then there's count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution, right? And then there's some forfeiture allegations. They're going after everything. The United States government is really going after Puff, and they are not playing the radio. So let me come off the top of the dome first. What they talk about, there's an individual in here who's described as victim 1, and what the government has done in this indictment, in this racketeering conspiracy, is they have linked all of his legitimate businesses as an enterprise, right? And with him, with racketeering conspiracy, all you really need is one individual to be engaged in these racketeering acts, right? And they don't even necessarily have to be, the individual doesn't have to know that they're actually creating, or they're engaging in racketeering acts. And I'm going to get into that after I go through this. So kidnapping is a charge, sex trafficking is a charge in here, bribery is a charge in here, assault is a charge in here, distribution of narcotics is a charge in here. What else? Just a bunch of charges, man. Engaging in international and across state lines prostitution. You know, they also go into it's just he you know, Puff's in a lot of trouble, man. He's in a lot of trouble, and he's right now being held in MDC Brooklyn, Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. We went out there the other day. I'm going to be showing a video on that. So let's get into the indictment. Now, it's the United States of America versus Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. So they are enumerating 6 different names that they have for him, okay? Count 1, racketeering conspiracy. For decades, Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka Diddy, all the names, abused, threatened, coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. Some of his crimes were sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. They say that his headquarters was in Manhattan and Los Angeles. Now, this is the key part, because what they do, and let's get into it. Sean Combs operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprise, Combs Global, and collectively, these are going to be called corporate entities in the Combs business, right? So under these, you have record labels, a recording studio, apparel line, alcoholic spirits business, a marketing agency, and a television network and media company. So what the government has done is to consolidate all of these different businesses into the entity which creates the criminal organization, right? The criminal entity. Each of these various businesses each of these individual businesses lumped together creates the corporate entity, right? The abuse at times was verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As a part of his pattern of abuse, Puffy manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. Combs ensured participation from the women, among other things, by obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and or threatening to cut them off from his financial support, and using intimidation and violence. Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects, and kicking them. Then we all saw that video in the hotel where he's walking down, he's running down the hallway with the towel, and then he smacks that girl, knocks her down, and then drags her back to wherever he took her. This happened in 2016. These assaults were at times witnessed by others and included one instance at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2016, which was captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave. When a member of the hotel security intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. So that video came out. That's from 2016. I think I recently just saw that in 2014. So the government was sitting on that for over 8 years. Now, what they are saying, they're going back, the time frame that the government is using to establish their case goes back to 2008. Check me out. The Combs Enterprise, right? This is where they lump everything together. From at least in or about 2008, Puff Daddy and others known and unknown were members and associates of a criminal organization, the Combs Enterprise. So they have labeled the TV company, the media company, the marketing agency, the studio, the alcoholic beverage company, and his record company as a criminal enterprise, right? And I think from a legal standpoint, if there's any attorneys out there watching this, go in the comment section and kind of add some color to that. You know, this is the basis maybe for the RICO, right? Check this out. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The Combs Enterprise, including its leadership, its members and associates, constituted an enterprise as defined by Title 18, United States Code, Section 1961. Combs and other members and associates of the Combs Enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs's role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs's orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, freak-offs. Freak-offs were elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep them obedient and compliant. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. Next, they go into great detail alleging what Puffy did to prepare and get these freak-off parties going. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms for the freak-offs, stocking the hotel rooms in advance with the required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens and lighting, cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate room damage, arranging for travel for victims, money, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay for the workers, and scheduling the delivery of IV fluids. In or about March of 2024, during searches of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. They also talk about guns they found at Puffy's house, too. In or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with the face serial numbers and a drum magazine. So this is going to get interesting, right? This is going to get interesting because some people close to Puffy are going to turn on him. They're going to turn on him, and if he goes to trial, people that he probably never thought would are going to get on the stand and testify against him and cooperate with the government against him, probably in order to shield themselves from prosecution, prevent themselves from being charged and going to prison, because they're going to need people to corroborate their narrative. The government is going to need people. They got this one girl on here. She's titled Victim Number 1. They don't give her name. Obviously, she's going to be one of the witnesses, and they're going to get some people from within his circle to testify on the stand too if he goes to trial, which it looks like he's planning to do. So now, here's where they detail the racketeering conspiracy, and I got to look these up. I should have probably looked these up before I did this video. From at least in or about 2008 through on or about the date of this filing of this indictment in the Southern District of New York, which this date is September 2024, Sean Combs and others, known and unknown, being persons employed by and associated with the Combs enterprise described in paragraphs 6 through 12 of this indictment. I'm on page 9 of this indictment. And an enterprise engaged in any activities which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate the racketeering laws of the United States, to wit, Title 18, United States Code, Section 1962. That is, to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, as that term is defined in Title 18 of the United States Code, Sections 1961, subsection 1, and 1961, subsection 5. Here they are. Number 1, multiple acts of kidnapping, multiple acts of arson, multiple acts of bribery, multiple acts of tampering with witnesses, victim, or an informant, multiple acts of forced labor, multiple acts of sex trafficking, multiple acts of transportation and inducement to travel for purposes of prostitution and other illegal activities, multiple offenses involving the possession with intent to distribute narcotics and controlled substances, including cocaine, oxycontin, alprazolam, 3, methyl dioxymethamphetamine, bromo dimethylxphenethylamine, gamma hydroxybutyric acid, ketamine. So these are all of the drugs that he's being charged with as well. Count number 2. That was count number 1. That was the racketeering conspiracy. Count number 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. And then this is where they talk about victim 1. This is where they talked about victim 1, sex trafficking. Let me read it. The defendant, in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, and solicited by any means a person knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion, as described in Title 18, United States Code, which is the RICO charge. A combination of such means would be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act, and attempted, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused the same, to wit, Combs recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, and maintained the person, quote unquote, victim 1, and attempted, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused victim 1 to engage in commercial sex acts, knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that victim 1 was engaging in commercial sex acts as a result of force, fraud, or coercion. Count 3 is transportation and engage in prostitution, which says that Combs knowingly transported an individual in interstate and foreign commerce with the intent that the individual engage in prostitution and that kind of thing. And then the last part is where they talk about the forfeiture allegations. So what they're doing, they're criminally prosecuting Puffy, and then what they are going to do is they want him to forfeit all of his equity positions, money, interest, property that they are going to frame, which we're talking about. Remember the enterprises we went over in the beginning? The marketing agency, the media company, the TV company, the alcoholic business, the marketing agency, and the studio and Bad Boy Records. From about 2008, they're going to say that everything, any kind of money he gained or any kind of property he gained during that period, he's got to forfeit if convicted. Forfeiture allegations. This is on page 12 and 13. And I'm gonna do a whole video on this. So that's the indictment. That's the indictment. That's the indictment. This is March the 19th, 2025. They're saying that the trial is going to start sometime in May. It's going to be right over there in Manhattan, Southern District of New York. I don't know, man. You know, I talked to, my nigga Black and some other dudes that have done fair time. You know, the federal government's success rate in getting convictions at trial is above 96%. They only lose 4% of the time. And I asked some of them, man, when this first came down, I said, man, and I think some of these charges, I got to get into it, maximum could carry a life sentence, right? But definitely 20 to 30 years. I asked him, I said, man, what would you do, man? And the majority of them who have been in the federal system, that have been prosecuted by the feds, like myself, said that, man, if he could work out a plea, a 10-year plea, or 15-year plea agreement, that he should take it instead of going to trial and losing and maybe getting 30 or life. But they all said, and I agree with this, that that is not even going to register with Puff. It's not even going to register because he is so financially wealthy and he's so accustomed to purchasing circumstances, to purchasing people, to bribing people, to using his power and influence to get his way for over 30 years, that embedded in him, he maybe thinks it could work in this case too. And I'm gonna come back. I got some more videos to do. He thinks maybe it could work in this case. And that he can, use that power, money, and influence to get out of it. But with the feds, it's a different ball game, man. It's a different ball game, man. Them people don't care nothing about how much money you got or none of that, because they got money too. They print money. I remember me, and I was a small time. I'm a little nickel and dime nigga compared to Puffy. I had a $1.2 million net worth, and I was accustomed to my man from this used to blower. I was accustomed to purchasing circumstances and using what little bit of money I had to get things that I wanted. And you know, I didn't believe, I thought I could do it, and I was small potatoes compared to this guy. It's a different ball game with the feds, man. It's a different ball game. How much money you got when they want you, it don't matter how much money you got. They could care less. I mean, I think unless you have like some connections with some high-ranking senators up to the Oval Office, uh, other than that, save that. It's a rough hustle, man. But let's see what happens. I got some more stuff that we're gonna talk about, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.